Hey, welcome to Win the Room. I'm Russ Patterson, and this is a video podcast for people managers where we talk about tips and strategies to help you get the most out of your team. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about how your very first instinct walking into a new leadership role might be completely wrong and lead you astray. This one's called the hero trap, and this is Win the Room with Russ Patterson. Okay, so let's talk about the hero trap. This thing can sap your strength, it can impair your judgment, it can mess up the culture of your business. So it's something you really want to avoid. And yet it's so easy to fall into it, especially if you're stepping into a new leadership role or a bigger leadership role for the first time. The hero trap happens when, out of our desire to succeed and to impress and to win the room as a new leader, we immediately begin by overbooking, overcommitting, overworking, and then subsequently under delivering. If you're stepping into a leadership position, you probably got there at some level by just working your tail off and putting in more hours than everybody else. And good for you and congratulations, but that's not necessarily a strategy that's going to work for you going forward. What I want to challenge you to do is think about, in the role that you have now, what your most critical deliverable is for the business. How do you create the most value in any given day? Is it your output, or is it the decisions that you make? Because as you have more and more people reporting into you and you're responsible for their efforts as well as your own, the balance starts to shift. And increasingly, what you're getting paid for isn't so much the work that you're doing yourself, but how you're helping others get their work done. And that's about making great decisions. If after thinking about it, you agree that maybe you've reached a point in your career now where your most critical deliverables are the decisions that you make every day and not so much the work that you do. Well, then let's think about what goes into a great decision. What are the ingredients of a great decision? And there's really two things. One, having as much of the salient information and data at hand as possible. And number two, having a clear and level head so you can parse through all the possibilities quickly and come up with the best answer. If you're stuck in a hero trap, you're overworked, overbooked, overstressed, then you're not really putting yourself in a position where you're going to have those two elements when you need them, when you're called upon to make decisions. Because if you're overworked and overstressed, it's really hard to have a clear head and to be in the moment. And even worse, if you're overtired, your ability to take in information gets impaired. The most important way that you take in information as a leader is from listening to your customers, listening to your stakeholders, listening to your employees, listening to your direct reports. If you're overtired, if you're overstressed, if you're still thinking about the last meeting or worrying about the next one, then you're not always going to be taking information as well as you could. And if you're not taking in information as well as you could, then you're not going to find yourself in position to make great decisions. So if you're in a hero trap right now, how do you get out of it? Well, it's not easy, but it starts by acknowledging that if your most critical deliverables for your business are the decisions that you make every day, then you owe it to yourself and your business to put yourself in a position to make great decisions every day. And how do you do that? Well, four things: sleep, balance, exercise, and mindfulness. And I'll talk a little bit about those topics in the future, but for now, I'll say if you're only going to start with one of these, make it sleep. Be a hero by going to bed at a decent time and being well rested for the next day's meetings instead of staying up till 3 a.m. trying to answer every email. You should think of this as part of your job. Part of your job needs to be taking care of yourself. This is the advice I've easily given out the most frequently, and I strongly suspect it is the advice that people have heeded the least frequently. I'm too busy. I got all these things that I need to do. And yes, there's all kinds of pressures when we're leaders, but I can tell you that at least in my own case, figuring out that I was in a hero trap and getting myself out of it was transformational. Made a huge change because when I think back in the years when I was trying to get by on 4 hours of sleep and trying to be everything to everybody, when I was overtired and overstressed, I often wasn't at my best. But you know what? When you've had a good night's sleep, when you're well rested, when you're balanced, when you're ready for the day, when you're taking in information with a calm and level head, there is no heat of the moment anymore. The heat of the moment is for everybody else, but you as a leader just have moments, leadership moments, moments where you can assess all that data that you've been taking in, ask questions around the room, and then make a great decision. Make a decision that you're proud of. I hope you found this content interesting or useful. And if there's anyone still listening who's not my mom, then I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the thumbs up or maybe leave a comment. And, maybe if you think about it, there could be somebody that you know who would really benefit from this advice. And maybe rather than send it to them because you wouldn't want them to feel singled out, what I'd recommend you do is maybe just reshare this with your whole network. It'd probably be the best thing to do. And hopefully I can get a conversation going around leadership topics and people management with more and more leaders. Thanks for your time and attention. I'm Russ Patterson, and this has been Win the Room.